Thanks, Jasmine. Good morning, everyone. My name is Phil Sims. We all understand barriers, right? They prevent forward progress. It's not just enough for us to identify the businesses for the directory. We need to identify the barriers as well. If we can get a clearer picture of the barriers that people are facing, we can work to provide better resources and strive to provide equal opportunity for everyone. Between our current survey, the original survey from Cohort 11, and BHAM's Blacklisted, we had a total of 612 entries, with over half being sourced from the Blacklisted directory. I would also like to highlight the fact that we had a strong showing of support for these underrepresented businesses, with 14% of our entries submitted by a friend, ally, or patron of the business. This was encouraging and gave us insight into just how many people were filling out this survey that cared about particular women and minority-owned businesses and wanted to give exposure to them. The other 32% of respondents were submitted on behalf of the business owner or by the business owner. In order to figure out what barriers were most common for these women and minority-owned businesses, we needed to filter them down because those who answered as the owner or on behalf of the business received a subsequent question on the survey regarding potential barriers that they may face. People who were presented the barriers were asked to respond to the following barriers, which in this slide are listed in order from most agreed upon at the top to least agreed upon at the bottom. Now, this list is not a full list, but if we've heard anything in the past 14 weeks, it's record counts and sample sizes. The barriers you see presented on the screen currently are the barriers we'll dive deeper into for the rest of the presentation. In my next slide, let's dig deeper. We ask respondents to select on a scale of strongly agree to strongly disagree whether or not these particular barriers affected them and their businesses. To make this information more digestible, we grouped the 5 different answer types by agree, which is shown in blue, neutral, which is represented by gold, and disagree by black. We call this the levels of agreement. So just to add a little more clarity, if someone strongly agreed or somewhat agreed, they're grouped by the agree color in blue. As you can see, the number 1 barrier most respondents agreed was truly a barrier: lack of access to funding with 57%, with lack of access to business networks close behind at 47%. I hope this helps provide a picture of what our survey respondents believe are barriers. And we're going to take a deeper dive and look at these barriers individually to see how it breaks down. I'm now going to pass it off to Chanel, who's going to talk to us about 2 of these barriers.
Thank you, Phil. I'm Chanel Castleberry, and the 2 barriers I will be talking about are difficulty obtaining licenses and bonds, and lack of access to business networks and critical information. We thought obtaining licenses and bond would be a difficult barrier for the businesses, because if you don't have the money and time up front, it's difficult to get the bond without the funds. However, in the survey, we noticed that this is not a barrier for our survey respondents. Of 163 respondents, 48% disagreed, 37 were neutral, and only 17% agreed that it was a barrier. As we know for our Hispanic community, that this can truly be a major barrier, we hope to have gained more responses to have a better sample of the subgroup to study. On the lack of access to business network and critical information, we noticed that it is a barrier for our respondents. Of 164 respondents, 47% agreed, 29% disagreed, and 24% were neutral. As you can see on the right, I have a chart with the race breakdown where African Americans lead in all levels of agreement. Although the numbers of businesses owned by these groups are growing, women and minorities are still less likely to run their own business than a white non-Hispanic man. In 2007, women owned just 29% of all small businesses, and those from minority background own just 23%. Closing this gap in entrepreneurship, it is critical to the continued economic growth for all of its members. And now I will be passing it on to Zakia and Haley, who will be discussing additional barriers and